I came across these AI-generated images of Rhaenyra and they annoyed me. In fact, I was so irritated by them that I decided to make a video about it. In this video, I will explain why AI images are problematic and the potential damage they could cause to House of the Dragon and its fandom. I'm sure there are many more images like the ones I'm about to show you, but for the sake of my and your sanity, I limit myself to a selection that is sufficient for the discussion. Let's start with the thumbnail. When I saw it, it really blew me away. Whoever generated this image, what did Olivia Cooke do to deserve this fate, to have her face disfigured into a blank AI image? But let's unwrap the message behind this so-called redesign, which supposedly sticks closer to the book. Fortunately, I have now read Blood and Fire and can add my 2 cents to the whole discussion about the deviations from the original material. So, someone out there saw the scene and thought it should have looked completely different, and simply tasked an AI with making the desired changes. And that's what we have now. Emma Darcy's face was replaced with Millie Alcock's face. A crown has to be added because the royal family always wore their crowns and apparently with a veil too. The jewelry and neckline have to be bigger and more eye-catching, and the face is further enhanced until all that's left is an expressionless model face. You can probably already tell how I feel about AI images. Many viewers of House of the Dragon were very bothered by the costume design, as Rhaenyra is described as a major fashion icon in the book. The Fire and Blood wiki, which quotes its description of Rhaenyra from an interview with George R. Martin, provides the following details about her appearance. She always dressed richly, favoring purple and maroon velvets and golden Mirish lace in intricate patterns. Her bodice often glittered with pearls and diamonds, and there were always rings on her fingers. And when you hear this description and then look at how Rhaenyra is portrayed in the series, I can understand the confusion. But before you complain to the costume department, complain to the show's writers first, because their drastic changes to the plot, the relationships between the characters, and even the characters' personalities ultimately have an impact on the costumes. The costume department has a simple task: to represent the character. And Rhaenyra in particular has undergone drastic changes in terms of her personality. She's not the proud, stubborn and spoiled little brat she is in the book. She's more calculating, far less vindictive than in the book, and apparently not as angry. Even in the second season, while her entire council is clamoring for war, she holds back. She's supposed to appear more down to earth and likable, and that also affects her clothing. Nevertheless, that doesn't excuse how often the young Rhaenyra wore a potato sack as a dress. That was truly criminal. But if the AI image has now clearly improved on the book's original design, and it is the wish of many fans out there that Rhaenyra should have a more sophisticated taste in clothing in the series, why do I still have such a big problem with this image? This is mainly due to what AI images ultimately are and how they are created. Let's start at the very beginning with the term AI art. The fact that we call it that is a contradiction in terms, because AI art is not made by AI. At no point in this process is real artificial intelligence involved. What is actually at work here are machine learning algorithms. These are the kinds of algorithms that decide which YouTube videos are recommended to you, which ads follow you everywhere, or what content is pushed in your face on social media. It is important to clarify this because the label artificial intelligence is basically misleading. Everything that is newly developed in terms of tech products is labeled AI to make it seem complex and futuristic. But we cannot speak of intelligence in this sense, which is ultimately based on algorithms. But by using the term intelligence, we imply that this machinery has consciousness and would treat it more leniently as a result. But why should I treat AI images with more leniency than my YouTube algorithm, which recommends me another video about the end of the world or the latest influencer scam? I hope you see my point here. At the end of the day, all AI is machine learning algorithms that make predictions based on probability. They calculate which output is statistically the best fit based on an input. When ChatGPT writes a text, it doesn't think about meaning or context. It doesn't say, I want to express this, but calculates probabilities word by word. And that's exactly why the argument that AI works like human creativity is simply wrong. Humans think, reflect, and make decisions, at least most of the times. These systems do none of that. They don't understand what they are creating. They just push probabilities back and forth. Now that we've clarified that, we can talk about why AI images are so problematic in what they visually represent. We have clarified what AI art actually is, a series of probabilities. When we look at an AI image, we see the inputs with which the AI was trained, and this input consists largely of generically beautiful faces that correspond to conventional ideals of beauty, simply because such images are the most common on the internet. And we also know that tech companies don't take copyright quite so seriously because they are training the models for a good cause, right? So, in AI images, we see this mixture of all the input data. And these are mostly expressionless, somewhat uncanny looking faces. You may have already noticed that the images all look very similar in their representation. In each of the images, we see a deeper neckline, the chest is more emphasized, the face texture smoothed out, the expression erased, and that does something to our perception. When we see so many AI images and see how Rhaenyra and other women are portrayed, we accept it as a correct standard. This is also because we are told that this version of Rhaenyra is much closer to the original than in the series. And that may be true, but Rhaenyra could just as easily have looked like this. Or even like this. These are official artworks created by real artists, people who have studied Rhaenyra as a character and her story, incorporating their own personal style. Fortunately, there are still a number of artists out there who develop and draw their own ideas of Rhaenyra, and it is these images that really allow fan culture to flourish. People engage with the images, exchange ideas and discuss them with each other. But AI cannot engage with lore or character, nor can it develop a personal style, because it can only imitate the style of real artists. But with this flood of AI images and these faces that always look the same, we are destroying the discussion and also the fandom. We are overwhelmed with such images, and the sheer volume of them leaves no room to develop our own vision of the character. We are presented with an easily digestible version of what they should look like. There's hardly any opposition to this, as there are too many of these images out there. But these AI images have another effect entirely, which will be discussed in the last part of the video. When you look at the AI images, one thing immediately stands out. Female characters are depicted in a highly sexualized manner. Low necklines, figures tailored to Western ideals of beauty, skin with pores that have simply been erased. House of the Dragon isn't the only fictional work where characters are quote-unquote improved. I only have to think of how people shared an image of Aloy, the main character of the Horizon games, all over the internet. My favorite comment on it was, if I remember it correctly, some of you have never seen a woman up close, and it shows. Anyway, what worries me is how the portrayal of all kinds of fictional characters, including male characters as well, is finding its way into our favorite works. Portrayal is the absorption by mainstream culture of styles or content of the sex industry and the sexualization of Western culture, sometimes referred to as raunch culture. One reason why AI depicts people the way it does is simply that AI was probably trained primarily with images that were fed with ideals of beauty as mass-produced by adult culture. AI can only reproduce what it knows, and that is primarily these kind of images. Our culture is so obsessed with physical beauty that everyone follows the same rules of what beautiful means, even AI. But AI is not even following the rules, it is amplifying them. Since AI only knows the same characteristics of beauty, it will only reproduce them, and through this flood of such images, we as viewers only see this defined form of beauty. But what does it do to us as humans when we only see such stylized images that represent beauty only in the sense of OnlyFans and other adult websites? What if we are only allowed to see everything through the filter of the porn industry because there's nothing else to be found on the internet? What does it do to women who do not meet the AI standard? I would say that we are developing in a direction that worries me. We used to complain about magazines using Photoshop, then we complained about the filters on Snapchat or Instagram. And there used to be counter movements that wanted to show naturalness, that people don't look like they do in the countless edited photos and videos. But this counter movement is now being erased by the mass adoption of AI. We have AI filters that make you slimmer, prettier, and younger. The difference now is that the line between social media performance and other media, such as House of the Dragon, is becoming increasingly blurred. If we can't even escape the madness of beauty ideals in fictional works, where can we then? Fiction should be about breaking down the boundaries of reality, showing us that there's not just one face. Yes, it may sound melodramatic, but I am truly convinced that this is an important reason why we love fictional works, because they are different from reality. But what happens when we are all confronted with the fact, no matter where you look, everyone looks the same? When everyone has this supposedly correct face, and deviations only exist to be exoticized but are still not recognized as beautiful, actors are in a dilemma. Either they try to conform to this ideal, or they remain what their profession should actually be. They portray a human being. But many give in to the pressure and go under the knife. We are not even talking about the consequences that cosmetic surgery can have on an actor's performance. We are currently witnessing how we are increasingly seeing 3, 4, or 5 different faces in the media, while other faces that do not conform to this ideal are increasingly disappearing. It is ironic that this ideal is strongly influenced by the porn industry. Long an industry in the shadows, it is now omnipresent and influences our entire perception of beauty and gender roles. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a like. See you in my next video. Bye!